Hi, my name is Gary Cooper, and for the past 32 years I have hosted and produced fishing shows. From 1989 to the year 2000, the series was called Gary Cooper's Fishing Diary. And over those 12 years, I have fished from the most northern reaches of Alaska to as far south as Belize and as far east as Bermuda. We have fly fished the ocean beaches for coho and its depth for halibut, in excess of 200 pounds. We have trolled for salmon using lures as well as bait, and we have recorded many salmon over 50 pounds. In the rivers, we have taken 40-pound salmon on muddler minnows, and our largest walleye was 12 pounds, and lingcod were caught over 50 pounds. Our guest list was expansive, and we have been entertained by children as young as 6 years, and gentlemen in their 80s. We have fished with husband and wife, songwriters and sports personalities, guides with knowledge, and of course, the good old boys. The one thing we never wanted to do was to have an educational show telling the viewers how to fish. Instead, we made the Fishing Diaries a human interest show involving the outdoors and of course, fishing. So let's go back in time to August of 1989 to the pilot of Gary Cooper's Fishing Diary, and a young version of myself doing what I like to do best, and that's fishing. I will also give you some insight into the creation of this episode. So, welcome to my Fishing Diary. Over the years, I've been asked by many people, Gary, how in the heck did you ever get into doing a fishing show? Well, it goes back to 1984. In 1984, I decided that I was going to do educational videos on sport fishing, which is kind of funny because educational videos on sport fishing in 1984, or even videos in 1984, I mean, if you wanted to rent a machine, it was $100, and you had to spend also money to rent the movie. If you wanted to buy a machine, there was over $1,000, and movies were like $50 each. So, but I'd heard that Jane Fonda has made more money in doing her workout videos than she did in her acting career. So I thought, well, a lot more people are interested in fishing than they are in working out. So lo and behold, I wanted to do an educational video on salmon fishing and one on steelheading, two of my favorite pastimes. So I went to Oak Bay Marine Group and I talked to Bob Wright in regards to shooting a show using one of his operations. Now, he had an operation up in Hackeye, and he had a boat called the Mirabelle, and he thought, well, you know, Gary, how about if we send you and your crew up there to shoot the television shows, and it'd be a good partnership in the way that he would be able to sell the videos to market his operation, as well as I'd have a video to sell. So that's what we did. I went up to Hackeye, and we started to shoot the video, and it was beginning of June. Now, beginning of June, this was the first trip into Hackeye. Fishing isn't necessarily that great. You can get lucky, but I'd caught a 23-pound Chinook off the beaches. That was kind of fun, 10 feet down. I actually saw this fish and come up out of the weeds and grab my bait. And but then after that, I think there was only about a 30-pound fish caught. It was getting close to the end of the trip. And Ann Wolf, who was one of the camera people for Showman Productions, the company that I hired, I promised her if we had the chance, I'd take her fishing. So at this particular time, the trip was pretty well over with. I said, come on, I will take you out fishing. And that's when the magic happened. It was getting dark out. I had fished this one hole in Odlum Point using a small cut plug. I cut my plug way back, so it was only that big. And just before dark, this fish hit, and it was a big fish. It just felt like a freight train. I handed this rod to Ann, and I had to chase this fish. So we chased it way out to sea. I mean, to this day, I cannot remember seeing shore at all. We were that far out. And we fought it for well over an hour. And then the fish took us back into shore again and actually landed right at Odlum Point. And that is where we landed the fish, was at Ogden Point. And it was dark out. So we got this fish in, and it was a 52-pound Chinook. And these fish, you know, any fish up there are very, very green, and they really, really fight. Well, this fish made the trip. We had it all on camera, and crying because her arms were sore and she couldn't play the fish anymore. And I told her, look, and I've seen smaller women than you play bigger fish than this, just to egg her on. And she'd bear into it, and it was truly a trophy fish.
52 pounds.
52 pounds. 52 pounds. Way to go, you just got in a Tahiti, the first time ever.
Hey, Bob, it's 52.
Where is she? 52. Oh my God. Hey, will you take me out in the morning?
Is how it all started. Now we go back up to 1988. 1988, I'm wanting to do a television series. And I go into Check Six and I say, look, I want to do this television series. And they said, well, Gary, they said, you know, one of the directors of this company is a great sport fisherman, and I knew him well. Everyone knew him well. He was very powerful in the fishing industry, and they said, and you know, he's been wanting to do a TV show yet as well, and he hasn't been able to accomplish it yet. But I don't think we can do it. Well, I kept talking to them, and finally they said, okay, Gary, we'll go up and do the pilot. Now, you see, the reason for this is because, you know, when you're doing a television series, you need some pretty substantial equipment. A camera was $40,000, and today, you know, it looks, well, you'll see, you know, as you see the shows, it's not a very good picture anymore in comparison to what is out today. And a lens was $20,000, and then you had to buy the audio equipment, the tripods, and the auxiliary batteries, and everything else like that. You're at $100,000. So I was happy to be able to have these people at least shoot a pilot so we could see how it looked. So we shot this pilot that you're going to see here right now, and it was up in Tofino. I think it was in the third week in July, and catching big Chinooks on light tack. The interesting thing about Tofino is, back then, it wasn't even much of a tourist place, really. Properties that sell for millions of dollars today were selling for like $20,000 back then. I'm talking like waterfront properties. I'm talking like with a beach in front of you. And as far as fishing goes, hardly anyone knew where the fish were. A lot of the boys from Duncan, British Columbia knew, and they were friends of mine. So I got to cash in on some of what they knew, and it was a heck of a fishing place. When you left the Way West Marina, which is where we shot the show from, there was like a 10-minute run out to a place called Wilf Rock. And you go to Wilf Rock on any particular day and you wouldn't see any more than half a dozen boats there. And you always caught your limit. Your limit was 4 Chinooks, and we never kept anything really under 30 pounds usually. But for doing this show, we were using really light fly rods and with a couple ounce weights and cut plugs. So shot this fabulous episode, came back. Check Six said to me, well, Gary, it's a great pilot, but we cannot fund your show, you know, but if you can raise the capital, we will give you a good price, and we will produce the show with you, and you will own the copyright. And you know, that was one of the best things they ever told me, because I own every single show that I ever filmed, and that's a lot of them. So I took them up on it. I raised the capital, and we started to shoot Gary Cooper's Fishing Diary.
3 years now. 3 years, and when I first came up, we just came up for a 2 months survey on a aquaculture project, and said, well, this is where I'm going to live, and it's just been great. And on a day like this, you can't blame anybody, really.
Get lots of days like this. I guess you get a lot of fog in that too, don't you?
Well, the fog it rolls. Some years it rolls in, and it gets really thick. And some years, this year we've only had a couple of days of fog. Last year we had lots of fog, but it burns off by lunchtime.
Well, this is my third weekend ever up here.
Yeah.
And it's only the one, you know, the first weekend that I got blown off, and then you promised me this fishing trip, so here I am again. But
and we had to talk to the man about the weather, and he's certainly come through.
you have a direct line into the man, eh?
Yeah. Got to talk to the man.
And, I'm going to let this one out. See, I'm going to let it out about 45 feet. I want to be a little deeper for this, a little deeper weight. I like to put the front rods a little deeper because then your bait won't turn into your front line.
Yeah.
And I usually like to have a little heavier weight. Like this is a heavier rod, so I've got on a 6-ounce mooching weight instead of a 4-ounce that I have on the back.
Well, that should handle that. It looks it's working really nice. Your bait's working really nice. Turning.
Watch the rod
slack.
Rod slack. You got a fish on there.
We got one. Here he is. Look at this. He just came right up and grabbed that.
I've never seen a guy run across a boat so fast in my life. Okay, I'll get the other rods in, okay?
Okay. Oh yeah, and he's going into the kelp here. Yeah, I like these single action reels. You really got to feel for them. You get your fingers in just like a disc brake.
You want to? No, yeah, but bring in that rod.
Take the drag right off.
Now, as I was saying with this camera is a very, very expensive camera, so you know, that they were using. So we built an actual box in order to get underwater shots, and it was a box, and it was fairly large. It barely fit into the boat. Can you imagine in a boat having a cameraman, an audio man, and a guest, and myself with gear, and the boat is only 17 feet? That's what we were up against. That's what we were using to shoot with. But we had also built this box, which took up a lot of room as well. And what this box would do is you could actually put the camera, just lay it in, and then it had 2 handles, and we would tilt the box over the side of the boat, and then we could shoot the underwater shots, which was really kind of cool because if you tilted down, you saw the fish. You couldn't tell whether the fish was 20 feet down or on the surface, but it was really made for what they call good cutaways. So yeah, here's me releasing a fish on that box.
The old circle around the boat routine. Pick up some seaweed.
Yeah, they'll circle and circle and circle.
Yeah. Round and round. Okay, let's have a look. There he is. Ooh, dun 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 dun. He's getting tired. It's okay, buddy. You're going to be in the river before you know it.
The herring bait has worked, and a check through Gary's past diary shows us why. Gary has learned that fish in the midst of their run to the spawning grounds have just come from the open ocean, where they fed on herring. The needlefish in these waters may appear to be a likely food source, but the salmon's feeding habits have been established elsewhere, and they go readily for Gary's herring.
You got him. There he is. Nice big fish.
Okay, now cut into me.
As a responsible sports fisherman, Gary is also a conservationist. He knows that the Chinook salmon, also known as spring, tyee, and king, have in many areas suffered from overfishing and poor management. Gary likes to take a fish to the table, but he finds it equally thrilling to release a magnificent salmon like this back into the ocean, to continue its journey, return to its birthplace, and complete the spawning cycle. Handled with care, this fish has an excellent chance for survival. When Gary Cooper's fishing diary returns, Gary will be fishing at one of Brian's secret spots.
Earlier this morning, we were mooching with what they call banana mooching weights. Right now, what we're going to do is we're going to troll with downriggers. Now, what a downrigger does is it allows you to fish for these salmon with the lightest of tackle, and of course we're using these fly rods and these fly reels, and it should be a lot of fun because we will have no weight at all. The only weight we'll have is the fish, so we're going to have a great time playing these salmon on real light tackle. Right, Brian?
Yes, for sure.
Have you ever played a fish on a fly rod with no weight at all?
Never.
Okay, well.
Never before, but it's going to be a thrill, I can tell you.
Okay, well look, if I get one on this rod, maybe I'll hand you the rod.
Oh, would you, Gary?
Although all a fisherman requires is a rod, reel, and tackle, modern equipment has enabled a fisherman to determine exact depth and to fish that depth.
a fish on.
I'm talking slab, yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to move these tackle boxes out and put them up front so that we got lots of room? Yeah, we're talking slab. Now you're going to see a fight. Now you're going to see a fight. Oh, what a beautiful, look at, here we are sitting in this nice little bay playing a big fish. Whew. You see how much line he peeled out?
Going for the 100-yard dash. Oh, dude, did you see that? He's on the surface. We have about a foot between the dorsal and the tail. What do you figure he weighs?
Oh, this fish here is 20 pounds.
A modest 20. Oh, there he is again. Definite, respectable fish. He's right in line with the lighthouse right now.
There are 3 things to remember with a single-action reel. Pressure has to be manually applied to the rim of the reel to tire the fish and stop backlash. The handles of the reel can break a finger when a powerful fish is taking line, and the fish can be lost if the handles entangle in the fisherman's clothing.
Look at that rod.
It'd be nice if we, on the clear day, we can get Mount Fuji in the background. It's really picturesque.
He's hiding underneath the shadow of the boat. You want to raise the, no, just raise the motor. Raise the motor. Watch it too, that it doesn't bump into the... Talk about perfect timing, eh?
Yeah, just
look at that.
Okay,
stop. Good.
Yeah, it's all timing. It's all timing. That is a prime salmon.
He's not ready yet.
No.
Wait till his head's up.
This 26-pounder will also be released. Some fishermen just throw the salmon back into the ocean, but Gary will hold the fish in the water and move him in a forward motion, forcing oxygen-rich water through his gills. When Gary feels the power returning to the fish's tail, he will gently push him forward and allow him to swim to freedom.
30 years ago, I thought it was a really good idea to show on the shows this idea of tailing fish and taking the hook out and then holding them in the water to release it, especially, you know, on the salt chuck. Today, I have second thoughts about that. And the reason being is because I know a couple people who have actually gone over the side in higher freeboard boats from trying to grab a fish by the tail or trying to release it, and all of a sudden something goes sideways and they go into the water. And in big water, you can get lost pretty quick if you go over the side. So my advice is this: if it's nice flat water and you got a low freeboard, go ahead and use that technique of catch and release. If not, if you're in a higher freeboard boat, then what you should do is either do a gaff release, or after you've taken the hook out, dart him head first in the water. Don't throw him in the water so he lands on his side, but throw him like a football, sort of like, so his head goes into the water, and it'll revive him and he'll swim away.
I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do, my friend. This is for you. This is for you.
No. Oh, the feeling.
Don't lose them.
Look at this. Look at that. Oh, close to my heart. Oh, is that fun?
Very few people I'd do that for, but you showed me such a good trip.
Oh, I certainly appreciate it. It is fantastic. We're not even close to through yet.
No.
I got spots to show you that'll just
So we've got lots of good shows in the future, eh?
Oh, it's gonna. This is just the.
We'll be able to fill up all the pages of my diary.
Yes. Oh, your diary.
He had so much movement.
Yeah.
Like when he hit and I took him, he was just rolling, move, just from one side, and the rod was up and then down, then toward the boat and taking the slack and taking off. He was moving so much I thought he was a coho.
Did we see him?
I just saw him break the water. That's why I thought maybe he was a coho, because I thought he was going to come out.
Yeah.
But after he took that long run, I knew, no, this is no coho.
No.
This is a spring.
Big spring.
Well, he's just sulking out there now.
Yeah, he doesn't know what to do.
Yeah. You want that rod and reel, I think I can sell it to you. You're looking at about $500–600.
You take a check?
No.
No checks. I got a whole bucket of sand dollars.
Well, look, it's a handmade rod, like, you know, I made it myself, and it's sort of a little baby, so I don't really want to lose it. As a matter of fact, that one there is a very close friend of mine.
This one?
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, so.
But this is absolutely fantastic. This is... Oh, and the school of bait right there beside him.
Look at the school of bait right down here.
Right in the water. Right beside the boat here. Yeah. And this denizen of the deep approaches. Look at him. Look at that fish. Look at that. He's got a little bit of salad around his snoot. Yeah. He would certainly like to be a contender.
When releasing a fish, Gary avoids using a net since it can cause excessive shock. Instead, he uses a pair of wet cotton gloves, which also adds a more personal element to the experience of landing and releasing a salmon.
There you go, buddy. There's your fish. Look at that fish. That's over 30. That's over half. I say that's about 32, 33-pound fish.
You think so, Gary? Really? That is a big fish.
Yeah.
That is a big wild spring salmon.
Yeah.
Battle scars. Look at them.
Well, let's get the hook out of them and let them go back to the sea.
Yeah.
This is what I call good fishing.